Jacob, a man of great faith and spiritual power, known for his unwavering devotion to God. King Nathan, the wealthy and powerful ruler of Umukwe, who respects Jacob but is blinded by wealth and power. Kimberly, a young, innocent girl who represents the pure faith of the people. Prophet Jacob was a man chosen by God from birth. As a child, he exhibited an extraordinary connection with the divine. He often retreated to the wilderness to pray and seek communion with God. And by the time he was a young man, his reputation as a prophet had spread throughout Umukwe and beyond. Jacob's words carried weight, and his prayers were known to heal the sick, bring rain in times of drought, and offer comfort to those in despair. The people of Umukwe looked to him for guidance, and he served them faithfully, never asking for anything in return. He lived humbly, wearing simple robes and eating only what was necessary to sustain him. King Nathan, the ruler of Umukwe, was a man of immense wealth and power. His kingdom prospered under his rule, but he was always seeking ways to increase his wealth. Despite his riches, King Nathan respected Prophet Jacob and often sought his counsel. He admired Jacob's devotion and his ability to connect with the divine, something the king could never attain despite all his worldly possessions. One day, the king summoned Prophet Jacob to his palace. "Jacob," the king began, "you are a man of God, and your words have guided this kingdom for many years. But tell me, why do you live in poverty when you could have anything you desire? The palace is full of gold, jewels, and fine clothes. You deserve these things for all that you do." Prophet Jacob smiled gently. "Your Majesty, I serve God, not for earthly rewards, but because it is my calling. The wealth of this world is temporary, but the treasures of heaven are eternal. I have all I need." The king nodded, though he did not fully understand. "Still, I wish to reward you. Let me give you a gift, a token of my appreciation for all that you have done for this kingdom." Jacob hesitated at first, but eventually accepted a small patch of gold coins. He did not need the money, but he reasoned that it could be used to help the poor in the city. However, this small act of accepting the king's gift planted the first seed of temptation in his heart. As time passed, the king continued to shower Prophet Jacob with gifts, fine robes, rare spices, and more gold. Jacob, who had once been content with his simple life, began to feel the allure of these riches. He told himself that he was still serving God faithfully, but slowly his focus began to shift. One day, a wealthy merchant from a distant land visited Umukwe and offered Jacob a large sum of money to bless his business. This merchant promised that with Jacob's blessings, his ships would sail safely and his goods would sell for great profit. The prophet, who once would have refused such an offer, found himself considering it. "I can use this money to help even more people," Jacob thought. "What harm is there in accepting it if the outcome is good?" Jacob agreed to the merchant's request, and soon his wealth began to grow. He moved from his humble hut to a grand house in the city. He dressed in fine clothes and dined on the best food. The people of Umukwe still respected him, but they noticed that the change in their once humble prophet. As Jacob's wealth grew, so did his arrogance. He began to preach less about the things of God and more about the importance of success and prosperity. His prayers became less frequent, and he spent more time managing his new wealth than seeking communion with the divine. The connection that once made him so powerful began to weaken, but Jacob was too blinded by his newfound riches to notice. One evening, Kimberly, a young girl from the village, came to Jacob's grand house. She had heard stories of his past greatness and came seeking his help. Her mother was gravely ill, and the village healers could do nothing. Prophet Jacob, Kimberly pleaded, "Please come and pray for my mother. She is dying, and I know that your prayers can heal her." Jacob looked at the girl, dressed in tattered clothes, and felt a pang of guilt, but he dismissed it quickly. "I am very busy, child. Go to the village healers. They will know what to do." Kimberly's eyes filled with tears. "But you are the prophet. You have healed so many before. Please, I beg you." Jacob sighed and handed the girl a gold coin. "Take this. It should be enough to pay the healers. Now go." Kimberly took the coin and left, her heart heavy with disappointment. She could not understand why the prophet, who had once cared so deeply for the people, had turned her away. She returned to her village and tried to save her mother, but the woman died that night. So sad. The next morning, as Jacob counted his gold and admired his riches, he felt an unease he could not shake. The wealth that had once brought him such joy now felt hollow. He remembered the days when he had nothing but his faith, and how fulfilled he had been. Now, despite all his riches, he felt empty. Later that day, King Nathan visited Jacob. The king had also noticed the change in the prophet and was concerned. "Jacob," the king said, "I gave you these gifts because I admired your devotion. But I fear that these riches have led you away from the path of God." Jacob, being defensive, said, "I have done nothing wrong, Your Majesty. I have used my wealth to help others, just as I always have." The king shook his head. "But in doing so, you have lost what made you truly great, your connection to the divine. The people no longer see you as a prophet, but as a man of wealth, and wealth is not what they need." That night, Jacob could not sleep. He was haunted by the memory of Kimberly and the realization that he had turned away from his true calling. He knew that the king was right. The wealth that had brought him such pleasure had also brought him misery. The next morning, Jacob rose before dawn and went to the wilderness where he had once prayed. He knelt on the ground, weeping, and begged God for forgiveness. He realized that he had compromised his faith for material gain and had lost his way. For days, Jacob remained in the wilderness, fasting and praying, seeking to reconnect with the divine. He gave away all his wealth, returning to the simple life he had once lived. The people of Omukwe, seeing his repentance, began to trust him once again. But Jacob knew that he would never be the same. He had learned the hard way that true fulfillment comes not from wealth or power, but from serving God with a pure heart. In time, Jacob regained some of his spiritual power, but he was always haunted by the memory of his fall. He spent the rest of his life warning others of the dangers of materialism and the importance of staying true to one's calling. Though he had been restored, the scars of his compromise remained, serving as a constant reminder that the pursuit of earthly riches can lead even the most devoted servants of God astray. The moral of this story: Prophet Jacob teaches us about the perils of materialism and the importance of maintaining spiritual integrity. Even the most devoted individual can fall prey to temptation when they lose sight of their true purpose. Jacob's story is a reminder that worldly wealth is fleeting and the only true treasure is finding a life dedicated to God and the service of others. Thank you for listening to this story. Please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you in our next video. Bye.